Hello everyone and welcome back to the Listening Lounge. My name is Nick Day, CEO of JGA Recruitment Group, specialist payroll and HR recruiters. Now right now there is so much noise on LinkedIn, it can be hard to be heard. So when you want to relax, take the opportunity to learn something new by tuning into this episode of the Listening Lounge, because I'm joined by another CEO, this time Neil Hollister, CEO of the Payroll Centre. Now, Neil is a business leader who specialises in growing companies organically and through acquisition. He's led international trade sale exits. He possesses significant experience in turnaround situations, and with a background in both strategic and management consulting, Neil is an accomplished board-level leader who operates in executive and non-exec roles in both the commercial and the charity sectors. Now, the reason that I wanted Neil on the show today is he is currently CEO of the Payroll Centre, working in an industry which you'll all know is something I'm very passionate about. Neil shares that passion with me, so a pleasure and an honour, Neil, to welcome you to the show. How are you feeling today?
Nick, thank you. Hey, I'm feeling good. Thank you. It's something new every day at the moment, isn't there? This year more than ever.
It is. It's challenging, but we're pushing through, which is great. And I know your business really well. You have a product which we use here at JGA Recruitment. We're going to find out more about that today. But my first question then is this. So the Payroll Centre has been developing payroll skills now for more than 25 years. During this time, what have you learned about skills assessments and how have they changed?
Well, there's a good place to start, Nick. So skills assessment at their best, I think, produce three things. For the payrollers themselves, they can end up happier and more confident in their role. Because, you know, Nick, I come from the tech industry as well as the payroll industry. Sure. And I think there's a lot of similarities in the type of people I see in both industries. They're people that are doers. They want to do a good job. They want to be seen to do a good job. And then they want to move on. But to do that, you've got to have confidence in your skill set. And good skills assessments allow them to evaluate where they're at, be proud of what they're good at, and find areas to develop. So the first thing is payrollers can be happier, and in a time of enormous stress in this year, never have payrollers worked harder, never have payrollers been faced with so much frankly contradictory and ill thought through legislation. You understand why it's happened. I'm not suggesting I'd like to be in the government right now. Never has there been so much to deal with. But for payrollers, it's been tough, right? And anything that reduces stress is good. But there's something else, right? For the leaders of those payroll teams, what good skills assessments does is allow them to plan for that team and make sure they've got the skills that their business need in that team, that they can develop it appropriately. And it lets them do a good job. Most of us, when we're leaders, we want to do a good job. We want to be fair to our team. You know, we all know as leaders, investments in our team is what ultimately does the best job for the company and for us. But you've got to base that on facts, not intuition. And what good skills assessment does is put facts into that scenario. Finally, for the organisation, look, getting payroll wrong is a very bad place to be. Yeah. You're going to upset employees, the most important bit of the company, and you have that ever present spectre of HMRC inspections. You don't want to get this stuff wrong. You need to be compliant. Being compliant as a business comes down to the skills of your payrollers. So let's be really clear what they are, and let's make sure we're investing in them.
Amazing. Well, you mentioned intuition there, and I'd like to think I've got pretty good intuition when it comes to assessing payroll skills. Right? I've done payroll recruitment for nearly 20 years, but even ourselves as JGA, we use your platform to make sure that we don't just rely on intuition. We're actually able to assess those skills properly, because payrollers know they don't just press a big red button. There's a huge amount of skill and expertise that goes behind what makes a competent payroll professional. And the whole industry may already be aware of your platform, which is called 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞. It's a relatively new cloud-based skills assessment platform. As I say, we use it here at JGA Recruitment. It's won multiple innovation awards as well. You mentioned you've got a background in tech, so you've kind of brought tech in with your payroll expertise and combined the two. But for those not familiar, Neil, can you tell us more about what 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞 is and also why you went about developing it?
Yeah, no, I'd love to, Nick. Thank you. So why I went about developing it is the easy bit, right? I believe in skills assessment, and I believe in the benefits we've talked about. I've introduced skills assessment in different industries. I'm a trustee of the UK's biggest education charity, which also works in that space. But tech lets you do it differently, and it lets you overcome some real problems with skills assessment. So it's very kind of you to mention you use ACT. Think about before that. If I had £1 for every spreadsheet full of a few out-of-date questions that people were using to assess payroller skills in the team, in recruitment, whatever, then I'd be a richer man than I am, right? There's just this profusion of spreadsheets. What's the problem with them? They're out of date, the content's poor, there's no real competency framework sitting behind it, and worst of all, it's really tough to use for the payroller and the payroll leader, payroll manager. It's really tough to figure out what to do with it. So really what ACT is an aim to bring those benefits, happier staff, more appropriately recruited staff, combining that recruitment with the art, which you do so well, with the science, and giving you more facts to go with that art, to get managers equipped to do their job well, invest in their people, and to give companies, frankly, the surety they're doing everything they can to be compliant to, you know, a lot of legislation, an awful lot of legislation. So what is it? In its simplest format, it allows employees equipped with nothing more than a browser on the computer to take a series of quizzes. Those quizzes have been put together based on our knowledge of 25 years of developing a competency framework, a skills framework. And so we develop a modular set of quizzes which people can take, adapted to their level. Not everybody should be at the same level. Not everybody should be at the same level on every single module. Depending on your role, you might have to be an expert in maternity pay, perhaps know a lot less about court orders, or the other way around, right? So it needs to be customized, because if you put one size fits all, it doesn't work for people. They don't enjoy it, and the whole thing then goes into a pretty downward spiral. So it allows them, with their browse, to take a series of quizzes. In return, they get a single screen. They get some modules, modular headings, and they get a red, amber, green sign. Green says, well done, you've got this bit nailed. Amber says, you clearly get this, but actually there's some details here that we think you're not quite picking up, and maybe it's time for a refresher. Red says, maybe you've not come across this stuff before, maybe there's new bits been added since you last came here. You really need to go look at things. What it does is allow the team leaders to do exactly the same. So they see that red, amber, green across all the modules, tax and NI, maternity, court orders, whatever it is, and they can see their team skills. And then they can work out how do they need to develop the team so they've got all bases covered. And for the company, they can see that movement from red to amber to green, which increases the chance of being compliant. So that really is what the product does. It's so simple when it comes down to it. But in the world of COVID, where everybody is working from home, you know, not needing to be sat next to each other is kind of important. Not having to mark spreadsheets, printouts, whatever. It's all done automatically in the background. So the team leader sets up their people, they get an email, in they go, take some quizzes, multiple choice, and see the results. Why have I called it ACT? Well, ACT does in fact stand for something other than it being a plea to act now. And that is assess, customize, and train. Because that's a cycle we believe in at the Payroll Centre. You start with good formative assessments, understand where people are at and which areas they could do well to develop. Customize that assessment and customize what you do when you see the results of that assessment, and then train. Train might be formal training involving companies like us. It might be a 10-minute session with an expert on the team. It might be a 15-minute exercise with Google and some online training materials. There's lots of training interventions that can be done, but the starting point is agreeing with the payroller an action plan. What needs to be done to get them where they want to be in their skill set, and then making it happen. So assess, customize, train. That was the point.
I have to say, as a user, I don't need to sell it because we use the platform, but there's some things that have highlighted for us as a business is it's not about just finding weaknesses in people's skills. It's finding out where people can be developed. And we know from a recruitment perspective, one of the biggest engagement tools for keeping your employees happy is knowing they've got a pathway to develop skills and to get better at what you do. And that's what it provides. And as you say, it gives leaders the confidence to know that if they've got a green element, that they can trust that employee to handle that element of payroll without having to supervise in the same way because they pass those elements. It's really, as you say, very simple to use, but actually it's also very, very strong as an enabling tool for improving engagement and improving skills. It's been fantastic.